going to change that, and I'm going to be swapping my screen time for reading. This is not going to be like the daily screen time, because I've seen those challenges and I've done a version of that like a couple years ago over my TikTok, where I took each day's screen time and I substituted that with reading, and I didn't manage to hit the number for like every single day, because there was one day where I was on my phone for like 11.5 hours. I don't know how that happened, but we're not going to do that. We're going to take my weekly average from last week, which was 8 hours and 36 minutes. That is a lot of time. That is a full-time job that is on my phone. And it's ridiculous. The top 3 culprits are TikTok, YouTube, and Instagram, followed by Telegram, because that's where I text my boyfriend. And then everything else is like really like low. I am on Instagram for double the amount of time that I text my boyfriend, which I think says a lot. TikTok is because I've been scrolling a lot, and also because I've been like making more and more TikToks now, so I'm like editing in app quite a bit. Ridiculous. And so I think what is most reasonable is to swap out the 8 hours and 36 minutes for reading, because if I did that, I would get so much reading done. Also because I'm kind of in a slump, or like I'm coming out of a reading slump and I'm trying to force my way out of it. How this is going to work is iPad. iPad is going to be the thing that I'm going to be carrying around with me everywhere for this next week. And by this week, I mean today's Monday and I'm doing this for the rest of the week, so it'll end on Friday. And I'm just going to be carrying around my iPad, and it's going to have the timer on it, and that's how long I have to read every single day. This is not to say that I can't do other things, but like, because I'm unemployed, I don't really have anything to do. I have like, I'm going to go get my brows threaded today. I'm going to a pole class tomorrow, and then I have a pole practice with a friend on Valentine's Day, and that's it. Those are my only plans. Like, I have absolutely nothing else, so I should be able to hit this 8 hours and 36 minutes every single day. That being said, it is already 11:30, so in order to hit the 8.5 hours, I will end this at about 8 p.m. and that should be more than enough if I like read straight through, but I'm probably not going to do that because like, well, no, I can potentially do that, but we will see like how exactly this plays out, because I've done this before and I know reading slumps can happen in the middle of it and it's going to be unpredictable, but this is going to be a really long video, so I hope you guys are ready. Before I get started on the timer, I also want to say that I was going to film a different reading vlog, and then I didn't because I just wasn't in the mood to do it, and I was kind of in a mini reading slump, so I did have pulled a book, and I'm going to insert that clip here. That took so long that my camera ran out of battery, and apparently I didn't charge this battery either, so we're going to go do a really quick picking of this. I'm going to close my eyes, I'm going to mix this up a little bit, and okay, this is the one that I picked. Lore of the Wilds! I don't know how much the camera caught before the battery cut out, because it turns out I didn't charge my other battery either. But what I drew out of my TBR jar is, this is the book. So it is a physical book, as you can see it's purple and it has like the little physical book icon there. And I actually have this really pretty edition of it that was in a box from Fiction Bath Co. for one of my Pampers subscription boxes. This really pretty exclusive edition came with it, and I think it's beautiful. Oh, there's also a bookmark in here. I don't think this is related to like the book at all, but there is a bookmark in here. And this is the naked hardback. It is super pretty. I really like the back. I really like all the detailing. Problem is, I don't like romantasy at all. I don't even need to try it to tell you that I am not a romantasy reader, because I don't really like romance books as a like general thing. I'm fine reading books that have romance in them, but I very rarely gravitate towards books that are pure romance. I tend to really dislike them. And so the fact that this is romantasy, this is the only romantasy book on my shelf that I own, because I didn't buy this. Like, it was in the pamper box. But I've been following Annalise Rana on Instagram since before she started writing, so like I am familiar with her process of writing this, and I know that the sequel is coming out this year, I believe later this year, and I know that she's in the process of like working on her final edits for it. I'm going to go into this with as much of an open mind as possible, and I'm excited for the representation in this for sure, but I don't know how I'm going to feel about the like romantasy part. I know the author has said that she would love to, like, between the two of fantasy and romance, she's more of a fantasy writer, and like that's what she would prefer to focus on. So I'm hoping that the fantasy is well built out in here. So I will be reading Lore of the Wilds today, but first I actually really want to finish Vengeful, and so I have about 110 pages left in this. I'm at page 477, and I believe this ends on 580, so I have about 100-ish pages left in this, and I really want to finish it first because I've been really enjoying my reread of this, and then I'm going to move into Lore of the Wilds. I have borrowed this as an audiobook from my library because I think I want to switch it up. Having different formats is really helpful. So I'm going to be reading this on audiobook, and then once I'm done with that, I will see if I want to pull something else from my TBR jar, or if I want to read something that I've borrowed from the library, because I borrowed a couple of books from the library and I need to update both my Kindle and my Kobo with that. We are going to get started. The way I think I'm going to go about this is that I'm going to update you like every couple hours or so, or every time I finish a new book, but I will just have this iPad with me and I will check in with you every single time I pause to like film something. But we have 8 hours and 36 minutes on the clock, and we are going to start now. 7.5 hours on the clock, so it's been about an hour and I have finished. I knew it wasn't going to take me very long because I really enjoy this book, and the font is like decently big. And so I finished this. I'm gonna go rate it 5 stars. It's always been a 5-star book for me. And then I'm gonna start Lore of the Wilds. I am kind of hungry, so I should heat up lunch as well. But I'm gonna do this while starting Lore of the Wilds. This is a pretty short book. I think it's only a couple hundred pages, because like that's really thick. And so I don't think it's going to take me very long to get through it. Like I said, I'm not a big romantasy person. I know from just being me that since romance isn't a genre I gravitate towards anyways, romantasy is a difficult genre for me to read because I typically don't like that much romance in my fantasy. I like my fantasy to be like very heavily fantasy with like subplots of romance. Like, if I were to describe it to you, Six of Crows is how I like my fantasy, where yes, there's romance, but it's not central to the plotline. Like, if you took the romance out of everything, except for maybe Nina and Matthias' storyline, everything still works. And I like that when I read my fantasy. We'll see how much I end up liking the book, and if I do, I'll be very surprised. But I'm always up for surprises. I'm going to heat up my lunch, and then maybe we'll do a bit of a reading montage. It is a little while later. I have 5.5 hours on the clock, so I've been reading for about 3 hours already. I'm not going to pause the timer as I talk about this, because pausing the timer, especially when I started reading today, will just, I don't know, make me read longer, and I have to wash my hair tonight, and I have to dry it, so like, that's not a whole thing I'm going to deal with while thinking about how much I have left to read. I am 100 pages into Lore of the Wilds right now, so that's how much I've gotten into, that's how much I have left. It's fine so far. I'm actually kind of bored by it. So the main premise of this is that the main character, Lore, it's named after her, is part of this village called Duskmere, and she is there. She works in an apothecary. She works with like her, I think they're her aunt and uncle, but I don't know if they're actually her aunt and uncle or she just calls them that because she was adopted and she's been like, or not adopted, but she was raised in this orphanage and now she's helping them. And so one day a really bad earthquake happens. The day after that, like 2 fae come into town and ask who the owner of the apothecary is, and Lore, deciding that the kids need her aunt more than they need her, tells them that she's the one who is in charge of the apothecary, and they take her and they bring her to this fae castle, where for some reason some guy is like, hey, I need someone to sort through my library, and only a human can do it, or something like that. Like, I don't understand the reasoning as to why Lore is the only one who can sort through this library, but they bring her in, they're like, we don't know if humans can do this, but like, apparently you can translate books from the Fae language into your human language, so like, you're the one to sort through this library, only you can do it. And I'm like, can't you just put a fae you don't like into the library? But anyways, Lore starts doing this, and of course there's a guard who is like watching over her. His name is Asher, and they form a friendship. They're gonna fall in love. There's gonna be I'm pretty sure there's gonna be a love triangle because there's 2 guys on the cover, so I'm pretty sure there's gonna be a love triangle. I haven't figured out who the other guy is though. This is Lore. This is Asher. I have not figured out who this guy is. I have not figured out if this is the Fae Prince or like the royal guy who told Lore that she's the only one who can handle his library, or if that's Gray, who's her childhood best friend from back in her like village. I haven't figured out who it is, but that's not important to me right now. What is important is that I don't know if I like this book. There's a thing where sometimes when she's cleaning the library, she hears something, like, she hears voices, and then she hears what she thinks is someone calling her name, and she's had encounters with, like, a strange magical book that she's been using in the journal, and this journal just ate all of her words, so, like, it's interesting, but I feel like it's moving along way too quickly. Like, at this point, multiple weeks have passed. Like, she starts cleaning the library and immediately a week has passed, and then like another week passes, and at this point more weeks have passed, and I think we're like a couple months into this because Asher just left for like a thing, and then now he's back, and in the meantime she said several weeks have passed, and the passage of time is way too fast for something that's only like 100 pages into the book, and this book only has like 315 pages. So I feel like there's a lot here that I'm not understanding about the world and how it's been established. I feel like I'm missing a lot of things about it. And the thing is, it's not because there's a heavy focus on romance, it's just because I don't entirely know what's happening with the world building here. But I'm gonna keep reading, and if I get to the 150 page mark and it's still not calling to me and I'm bored and uninterested, I'm gonna DNF this and pick up a different book. So I have given myself 50 more pages to do this. We'll see if I can read that by like the 5-hour mark. I'm also kind of hungry because the lunch that I had, my leftovers were a lot less than I thought there were. So I'm just gonna finish up my Ruffles chips because these are the best kind of chips. I love these. I'm gonna eat these while I continue reading. I'm gonna get to the 150 page mark first, and then I will update you guys with what I think. This is gonna be a really long video, but I'm okay with that. I know I haven't moved from my spot since the last time you saw me, but that's because I actually kind of dozed off a little bit earlier. It's been a while. We have 2.5 hours left in this, and I am 214 pages into Lore of the Wild. That's a lot of time to take to read like 200 pages, but the truth is I'm not really enjoying this. I could DNF it and start something else that I would enjoy more, but I think I'm going to continue reading it. It is currently almost 6, so what I think I'm actually going to do is I'm going to put the audiobook on for everything else that I have left in this. I'm going to finish up my, like, the chapter that I'm currently in, which is chapter 21. I don't care for the romance in this. I don't think it's, like, I don't think it makes any sense. They just introduced the second love interest, and I don't think that makes any sense either, and I don't like him. I don't see why there's a purpose to him being the love interest. But he's on the cover. He's the one on the cover, so I was wrong. It's not Gray. He's the one on the cover. So I'm going to finish this chapter, and then I'm going to put the audiobook on while I go out and get dinner, and then I'll listen to that while I'm coming back, and hopefully by the time I'm back, I'll be done with the book. That should be about right, because I listen to my audiobooks at 2.5 to 3 times speed, so I should be almost done with it. I'm heading out. I don't know if you can see my cat in the pile over there because I'm doing laundry right now, so she is very happily sleeping on my bed and in my blanket. But I'm gonna head out now, so I'm putting the earbuds in. Well, I have thoughts about Lore of the Wild. I'm gonna insert a clip of me listening to the spicy scene where I really disliked it. It is so awkward. And I think part of that was just the writing, because I didn't like the writing of it. Like, I went back to read the scene physically, and I didn't like that either. I hate the term her slip. It's almost as bad as her heat, and I hate that. Also, this book, maybe because this might have been the self-published version or like an earlier version, is different from the audiobook. There were whole like paragraphs that I was missing in this edition that were present in the audiobook. So this may not be the fully like completed version. This might be an advanced version. But like the twist at the end kind of came out of nowhere and was just really odd, and I don't know how to explain why it makes no sense, but it doesn't. With this series, I think it is incredibly slow for something that is 315 pages, and how it managed to drag pretty much the entire time. There were so many side quests in the process of this that I basically forgot what the main point of the story was. So I have an hour left on the clock. I have 45 minutes left. I'm actually going to pause this and watch some TV. So I'm going to pause this. I will watch some TV while I eat my dinner, and then I will figure out what I want to read next, which I think I will pick up one of the library books that I've borrowed because I have a bunch of library books. So I will be reading probably on my e-reader, which I think is a good mix of formats because I will have read a hardcover, most of another hardcover, partly listened to an audiobook, and then now like in ebooks I've covered all the formats except for paperback. I can do that at another time. And yeah, I will pick something else to end today with. Excuse what my hair looks like. I have oiled my hair before I'm gonna wash it tonight, and my hair is very much overdue for a wash. What I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna start the 5th book in the Amish Murder Mystery series that I've been reading for quite a while. I started this last year and I really enjoyed it, and I forgot that I had the 5th book. I thought I had the 6th one, but I have the 5th one. So I'm going to start that, and it is Her Last Breath. I'm reading these from the library, but now that I have like full access to Amazon again, because I was sharing it with some people, now that I have everything again, I might not need to borrow everything from the library anymore. I can just like buy the books and read them. This is the cover, this is what I'll be reading next, and I'm excited because it's been a while since I picked up the series. I can't wait to see what this one's about, because I go into these without knowing what they're about, and I'm excited. I'm gonna start the time. Actually, I'm gonna update my TikTok about Lord of the Wilds first, and then I'm going to start this timer. My cat is already sleeping on my bed sheets because I've hung them in the living room to dry, and she's on them right now. Debbie! And like that, we are done with 8.5 hours of reading for the first day. That's a lot of reading. I am 35 pages into my ebook. You saw my dad came home. We were talking a little bit. We were kind of catching up about some stuff, talking through a couple things that we were texting about throughout the day. And I'm pretty happy with my reading. I should tally this up. So let's do some math. How's that? Let's make a new spread in my reading journal page. Oh, I have text messages. That's what that looks like. Why is my Kindle restarting? Do you need to update or something? Just says it's restarting. Okay, it's not like the cleanest page, but it works for me. So that just has my time, not my times, my pages read, and I'm gonna continue tracking this throughout the rest of the week. I know this is like a really long first clip, and I will probably be cutting it down quite a bit. For my first day, it's not bad, even though I kind of fell asleep at one point. Also not bad. Lord of the Wilds is really what took me a long time. Normally for a book of this length, it'll only take me about 3 hours. That took me about 6 hours to finish, which is kind of ridiculous. Just didn't spend that much time on my phone. I could easily get 435 pages read, which is like a lot. Today, my screen time is still 4.5 hours. Move on with reading more of my book tomorrow. I also got to a really exciting part of my TV show that I was watching while I was having dinner, so I'm gonna wash my hair and like maybe squeeze in an episode of that. I will see you tomorrow where I will actually go get my brows threaded. I'm also going to pole in the evening, so that cuts my reading time down a little bit, sort of, not really, but we'll talk about that tomorrow. So it is 10:34, but I'm gonna go out and get my eyebrows threaded first, and then I'm going to start the readathon, or it's kind of a readathon, right? Like, it's a little bit of a readathon. It technically doesn't leave me a lot of time, but yesterday I was on a bit of a time crunch because I needed to wash my hair. It's been washed now, but today I don't need to do that, and I can read while I'm commuting to and from pole. So I have like more time in my day to do this. It's just I knew that I had to schedule out like an hour and a half, 2 hours for my hair. I'm not as worried about the 8.5 hours today, but I'm gonna go get my eyebrows started first, and then we're gonna get started. This is currently how messy they look, and then when I'm back, they will look a lot better. About the same time I started yesterday, because by the time I got my brows done and filmed a TikTok update to my reading of Lord of the Wilds, It's actually 11:33 now, which is like only 15 minutes earlier than when I started yesterday. So we're gonna go back into my timer now because I really should get started on this. And we're just gonna start another 8-hour and 36-minute session. So I'm gonna hit that. Timer's on. And we're gonna continue reading Her Last Breath by Linda Castillo, which I don't know why the cover like disappeared from this, but I am, as I mentioned yesterday, 35 pages into this, which is already 11% of the way. These books are short and they're fast. They're dark, but I really, really enjoy the writing and I really enjoy the mysteries, and I like having a mystery series that I can just like read really easily. So I'm gonna fly through this and I want to see how much I can get done by like the 1 hour mark, and hopefully once I finish this, I'll be able to pick up another book really quickly after. Okay, so I paused the timer for a while because I needed a nap for some reason. I don't know why I needed a nap, but what was supposed to be a half-hour nap turned into a 1 hour nap. So I'm going to restart the timer now. I have 5 hours and 44 minutes left on the clock, and I'm going to finish my book. It's taken me a little longer than I thought to get into it, and I think that's just because for some reason I'm really sleepy. But I'm going to finish this book, and then I'm going to get started on my next one. But I'm going to read in bed because even though I just took a nap in here and I should be reading outside, I want to read in bed. I haven't read in bed for a while. But timer is going. I need to stop yapping. This is not the most flattering angle, but we're going to work with it because I want to sit here and my cat wants to be here. So we're going to work with it. I just finished my book. This is the last page, and if I tap that way, it goes to the preview of the next book in the series. And I have 4 hours and 47 minutes left on the clock, which is a lot of time. It is currently 4:37, so it's been about exactly an hour since I last checked in. I want to film some TikToks, but I think I'm actually going to leave that until tomorrow. I'm going to wake up a little earlier tomorrow and get that done in like the early morning light, and then I will get started with everything, or I'll get started with this earlier and then just use like 10 a.m. daylight for filming my TikToks once I've gotten a little more reading done. I need to pick a new book now, and I don't know what I want. I don't know if I want to pick like, do I want to pick something off my TBR, or do I want something else? Do I want like an audiobook or an ebook? Let's look at what I have here. I am kind of in the mood for a mystery still, and I kind of want to stick with that. I don't want to like bring a physical book with me exactly. Let's pull up a random generator and I will put in something between physical, ebook, and audio. I don't know how bright this is for you guys, but we're gonna spin it and it just says ebook, physical, book, and audiobook, and then I will decide from there how I want to go about this, I guess. So let's go. Watching it spin. I don't know what that is. That is... okay, it has selected an audiobook for me. Now I have to decide what audiobook I want to listen to. I could cheat and listen to and borrow the audiobook for the next book in the series here. I could. It's a 9-hour audiobook, but at 3 times speed, that's 3 hours. Or do I want to listen to an audiobook that I already have? What are the audiobooks that I have on my list? Because I know... hi, baby. I know I have a bunch on Audible here. Let's just take a look as I figure this out. Okay, you know what? I'm going to listen to Local Woman Missing. I've been wanting to read that for quite a while, and I've borrowed that multiple times from the library, so we're gonna listen to Local Woman Missing. It just finished downloading on Audible. I don't have a subscription anymore. These are books that I all got, like, way before. I guess I'm gonna put my earbuds in and listen, and I might need to grab another charger, because I need to charge it. This is the problem with having so many things that are USB-C. I have a bunch of USB-C wires, but everything's being charged right now because I need to charge my phone and my iPad. And I potentially also need to charge my earbuds. I'm just going to start listening to this first. Bringing my iPad just because I need to make sure I have the timer on here. It's still on pause because I went and had dinner with my dad. Well, he brought dinner back, so I just had dinner with my dad. And now I'm heading out again. I have my phone with me, I have my earbuds with me. I need to grab my wallet and my water bottle. I need to fill up my water bottle first. So I have about 3 hours and 40 minutes left on the clock. There are 5 hours left in the day, and I will be listening to my audiobook on the way there and on the way back. So hopefully that gets me at least like another 2 hours, 2.5 hours of listening. When I get back, I should be able to just like listen through to the end. So it's going to be cutting it close to midnight tonight, but I will finish listening to everything I need to listen to. I might even listen while I'm in the shower. But yeah, I'm heading out. This is just a really quick update that I'm not going to be able to hit the 8 hours, but I'm not super far off. So the reason I'm not able to hit the 8 hours is actually because I spent some time talking to my boyfriend before my whole class. I would have gotten like the extra 30 minutes. I don't even think I would have gotten the 30 minutes because I'm still missing like 15. But I'm almost done with my audiobook. I'm in the last hour of it. And so I should be able to finish that tonight. I might actually speed it up a little bit to get to like the rest of it tonight. I'm like getting towards the end where they're revealing some of the twists. I'm like, okay, I'm still trying to figure out what exactly is going on in terms of like all the twists. I think I potentially have an answer. I'm not super sure, but I'm enjoying the book a lot so far. And I really like the full cast. I'm just gonna get back to this and I might have a cookie while I'm at it. Night, I did not manage to finish the audiobook. I only have 9 minutes left in my audiobook. Okay, you know what? I will finish this tomorrow. First thing tomorrow. I don't know how many percent I have left. One of the really annoying things about Audible now, they don't show you the percentage of the book that you have left, I don't think. It just tells you how many minutes you have left, which, like, is incredibly annoying. I'm gonna save the last chapter. I think it's the last chapter. Yeah, it is the last chapter. I'm gonna save that for tomorrow. I kind of want to finish it now because it's the last chapter, but there's a lot of reading that I've done. So I should shower because I really need to shower. I avoided that because I wanted to like get to this point. So I am missing 30 minutes off my time today. I might tack it on to tomorrow. I'll let you guys know what I decide in the morning. This is it for Tuesday. I have read 4, almost 5 books so far, which is great. And we'll see if I can keep this up for the next few days and how many books I wind up reading. It's 8:45, I just got out of bed and I'm gonna get ready and then we're gonna get a head start on the reading today, and I might actually tackle those extra 30 minutes that I missed out on yesterday. But first, gotta get all of this clean. Also, I'm annoyed with myself for picking at this pimple here. I don't know if you can tell that. I was picking at it because it was like being really stubborn. I shouldn't have done that because it's Valentine's Day this week and I have a date with my boyfriend on Saturday, so I should not have picked at it. Also, I don't own concealer. I should not have done that. Excuse all of this. I have a spot treatment on my face to kind of clear out the gunk of some remaining pimples and hopefully also ease up the inflammation on this guy. It's 9:08 and we're gonna get a really early start on my reading for today. My timer is still on yesterday's 34 minutes and 15 seconds left. So I'm thinking, as much as I would like to tack this on, I might not tack this on today because I do have editing to do for this weekend's video, which is not this, it's a different video, but I do need to start editing that and I do need some screen time for that. So I will be clearing this out through 34 minutes and 15 seconds. I'm putting this on record that I have like time I can add onto it another day, which I might do for Thursday instead. If I can get a lot edited today, I don't have to think about editing tomorrow. So I'm gonna clear this out and we're going to start another 8-hour and 36-minute timer. And I'm going to finish up my book because I only have like, I think about the last chapter, which is like 10 minutes of listening. And by that time, this will all be dry. So I'm ready to go and listen to that because I really want to know what happens. I'm like, I was so tempted to continue reading last night. I really want to know what happens. So we're going to start the timer. Okay, my Audible's frozen for me right now, but I just finished the audiobook and I'm so glad that my final reaction, because like by the end I was like, at the beginning of the last chapter I was like, okay, I think I know where this is going, but still, that was such a good book. It's been so long since I've given a audiobook 5 stars. It's been so long since I've given a mystery audiobook specifically 5 stars. The ones that I have listened to, I typically only end up giving 2 or 3 stars because I just don't like them, or I don't like the twist, or I don't like the narration, something about it. This was so good. I can see why people rave about this audiobook because it is really well done. I can see why people rave about the book as well because this is good. So I am definitely trying more Mary Kubica in the future. I was kind of unsure because I didn't really know where I stood with some of these popular authors. Like Lucy Foley is one of those authors that I've given 1 5-star to, and that was The Guest List, which I know is like an unpopular opinion. I disliked everything else. I DNF'd The Paris Apartment. I don't remember anything of my listen to The Hunting Party. I did not like The Midnight Feast. So there's that. Like Lisa Unger is a new one that I've discovered. I really like Secluded Cabin Sleep 6, but I gave 2 stars, I think, to The Couple in 5B and to one of her previous books as well. Didn't like that. Taylor Adams was really famous for a while for that book. What was that book he wrote? The one where the woman is like a writer and she's on a deserted beach cabin and like some guy breaks in and it takes place over the course of a night. I figured out immediately who the bad guy was. I also read the other one, Hairpin Bridge, which I DNF'd, because I didn't like. I have not liked any Ruth Ware. I gave The Girl on the Train. No, that's a different person. I gave The Woman in Cabin 10 not a great review because I don't like alcoholism as a trope. It really frustrates me as like a reading experience because I find that authors get to do a lot of like wacky things that you can't explain and can't get away with if you don't have the alcoholism trope, and so I don't like it. I think it's kind of lazy at times. It takes a lot to be like really well done. I did not like The It Girl. Like The Turn of the Key, and I heard 0 Days was not very good. So like I am like really iffy on Ruth Ware. Geneva Rose is another author that a lot of people really love, and I've never given her more than 3 stars. So like Mary Kubica was one of those authors where I was just like really unsure of, but now that I have a 5-star from her, I'm definitely going to look into more of her books and see what I can pick up from the library because I'm really, really curious about what I think of her other books. So if you have recommendations for Mary Kubica specifically, I would love to hear them. I need to stop talking. I need to pause this timer. And then we're going to draw something from the TBR jar. This is a really terrible angle for you guys, but this is the only way I can film on my phone at the same time for me to pull from the TBR jar. So I'm going to pull another book from my TBR jar, and we're going to really kind of mess this up a little bit. I'm going to like dig to the bottom. I don't really know what I'm going to get, but we'll see if it's a physical book or an ebook. Looks like a physical book. It kind of looks purple. Here, you guys want to read it first? I don't know if it's right side up or upside down. What does that say? That's the book. Oh, it's another mystery. Okay, this is Hag's Note. This is actually one of the books my sister had. Let me go grab the book. This is the book. I know absolutely nothing about it. I think it's a historical mystery. It seems like a fast read. And I'm reading it. I also need to restart the timer. So this is the book. I, as I said, know nothing about it, and I'm going to restart the timer now and like get started on this. But yeah, I'm excited. I'm glad I picked another mystery because I was still in the mystery mood, and like that's usually what I'm in. But this is a really pretty cover, and I'm excited to get started on it. I can't be bothered to bring my tripod out here, so you're sitting on a bunch of cookies. But I am at page 107. I just got about to the halfway-ish mark. I'm enjoying this so far. It is taking me longer than I thought it would to get through like 233 pages. But this is also a book that's written in like older English than I'm used to reading, especially for mysteries. So it is taking me a little while. But I am enjoying this. There are a couple of things that I'm like realizing I'm zoning out a little bit while reading. So I'm going back a little bit to read it here and there, but I'm going to take a break from reading for now. I'm going to pause the timer and I'm going to heat up some lunch. I am currently at 542 minutes left in the readathon thing. I guess this is a daily readathon. So I'm going to pause it and then I'm going to have some lunch. I'm going to watch a bit of Netflix and then I will get back to reading. And I think I should be able to fit at least one more book in, like one more full book, and start another one. So honestly, 2 books a day, or about 1.5 to 2 books a day, is a pretty good pace because I'm already ahead of my Storygraph goal. Let me just show you where I am right now. I started this out 2 books behind, and as of now, I am 2 books ahead. So you can see that I am ahead of my goal. And I'm very happy about that because it's always good to be ahead of my goal. I usually try to start January off with being ahead. I usually try to read 6 books in January, so I'm a little ahead. But I'm catching up now, and by the end of this, I should be about 4 to 5 books ahead, which I'm looking forward to. So yeah, I'm gonna go eat now because I'm hungry. Lunch is done. I took more time off than I wanted to. The thing about these like screen time videos and like swapping screen time for reading is that it can actually get pretty tiring to be reading all the time. Like, you can sort of not really burn out from reading, but like have this sense of not wanting to read as much. But you know what? I'm gonna finish my book. I'm gonna like hunker down and read the last 110 pages. I think I only have half the book left. So short book, easy to read. We'll see how I feel about it after this, because like I don't mind the fact that I'm reading so much. It's great, but I do feel like I'm not really getting to do much else during the day, and I don't really like that feeling that much. I'm gonna get back to reading. I'm gonna turn the timer back on. I do have to go out later today and get some stuff. I could put it off until tomorrow. Don't really want to, but I could. We'll see how I feel, but I'm gonna resume the timer for now and we're gonna get back to reading. So I just realized that there is a typo on the back of this. The guy, like, they're siblings in this story, and the girl's named Dorothy and the guy's named Martin, and the back of this book calls him Marin, but it's Martin. So I finished this book now, and I'm lazy, I'm laying down. I will admit, I did fall asleep earlier while reading this, and I have, let's see, how long do I have? Can I get my iPad from here? 5:12, and I have just about 3 hours left to read, and I think I'm going to take another break. I'm done with this book. I don't know what I want to read next. I feel like I want something different. I don't know what my TBR jar will give me, but I think I'm going to take a bit of a break and do a little bit of editing, or at least prep for some editing that I need to do, because I would like to get a head start on that, because I do need to get a video up on Saturday. I'm not sure what I'm going to give this yet, because I did enjoy it, but there were a couple of things that I struggled with, so I'm not exactly sure what kind of rating I want to give it. I am very tempted to say a 4, but I'm going to give it some time, because I decided that while I said Local Woman Missing was going to be a 5-star read, I think it's more of a 4.5 star, because there were a couple of things that I wanted an explanation for that I don't think we got, or if we did, I didn't catch it. But either way, like, it was good, but it wasn't like a perfect mystery for me. So I'm going to take a bit of a break, and then I'm going to get my next pick for what I'm going to finish out the rest of my 3-ish hours of reading with, which could be another book if I get really into the book. If not, it'll take me a while, because, like, I'm realizing none of these books have really taken me, like, a super short amount of time the way I expect them to. I've fallen asleep while reading almost every single day. And I will say that, yeah, the thing about doing challenges like this is that sometimes you get a little bored of reading after a while. Even though, like, there are some books that are just so good, but you can get bored of reading, because 8.5 hours of reading every single day is a full-time job, basically. It is getting me through a lot of books. I do also want to do other things with my life. I'm gonna go take that break now. I'm reading in bed now. That's probably not a good idea, but I'm reading in bed. So I pulled another book from my TBR jar. This time I didn't catch it on camera, but I do have the video of it. I originally pulled Last One Left, which is a Riley Sager book, but I want to do a video where I read all of Riley Sager's books back to back and then rank them definitively to see like which is my favorite, which is my least favorite. My cat is playing with the TBR strips. So I put that back in the jar and I pulled a different book, and my cat just whacked my headphones all over the floor. Give me a second to deal with that. Okay, I don't think you can actually see it because the camera's trying to focus on my face, but give me a second. Here you go, Wires and Nerves Volume 1, which is a graphic novel by Marissa Meyer. I think this is set in the Lunar Chronicles universe. It's been a very, very long time since I've been part of that universe and like read from it, but I'm excited to dive into this. I don't read a lot of graphic novels, and this actually counts towards my challenge of wanting to read more graphic novels. 2 hours and 40 minutes on the clock. I did accidentally forget to pause this. I'm just gonna let it keep going. 2 hours 40 minutes on the clock, so we'll see how long it takes for me to read this graphic novel. Probably shouldn't take me more than like an hour and a half, I think. It has been a while. I will admit I didn't read the entire time. I was reading text messages between me and my friend because and getting new stuff and then catching up because we haven't seen each other since like last year, so we're gonna see each other again next week. And I was talking to her, so I was just reading text messages, which don't count towards my goal. But I have about 20 minutes left on the clock, as you can see on the timer right here. I'm just gonna let that run out because I have officially finished Wires and Nerves, and it is so good, and I want to start the second volume tomorrow so that I can just finish this out because it's a duology. It's not a trilogy, it's a duology, and I think it'll just be nice to do that. This really made me want to revisit the world of Lunar. I'm tempted to do it, but also that's like 4 or 5 books that I need to commit to. Well, it's 5 if you include Stars Above, I think. I don't remember. I need to like go look at my series outside. I really miss the characters, and there's so many things I don't remember, and there's so many things that like it made me feel stuff again about being like 17 and reading these books for the first time. I had such a good time with this. I really enjoyed it. I love focusing on Aiko a bit more, and I think that's the thing about this story that like I really appreciate being able to focus on Aiko again and see her perspective and her being more of a main character than I think she was in any of the other books, because even though we did see from her perspective, even though we got her storyline, it wasn't the same because we were focusing and developing so many other relationships. And with each book you get more characters, and so it's just a thing where like there are more and more romances that you have to look at, there are more and more political relationships you have to look at, and Aiko unfortunately doesn't get to be as big a part of the main storyline as I would have liked her to be, and this tackles a lot of that because she is like, you know, in the aftermath of everything that happened with the Lunar Chronicles and the end of that series, she is now like, everyone else is known as heroes except for her, and she's just the android that was around, if people even know that there was an android, right? So it's interesting to see that perspective and how it's sort of being tackled here, and I'm really curious to see how the second volume tackles it. Today is not my highest in terms of like page count. I think I'm probably only around like the 500 page mark. I was around the 700 page mark yesterday, I think, because I read so much more. I feel good about what I read today. The goal of this challenge was not to like read the most that I could in each day. It was just to kind of refocus the amount of time I was spending on my phone to reading, because I often talk like I don't have the time to read, but really it's just me being on my phone or watching a lot of Netflix, and I can do those things. There's nothing wrong with doing those things. Like I took a couple hours off this afternoon to film a bunch of TikToks, and I have like a bunch that I need to edit now. My cat's playing with the TBR strips. Like all of these videos here, these are all things that I filmed this afternoon, and I can't afford to do that, you know, like I can't afford to take the time to make videos because I do need to, because I'm making content, but I can also make a lot of time for reading. And if I made more time for reading, even if I did like an hour, 2 hours a day, that is a good chunk of a book. And I don't have to always feel like I'm scrambling for time or like not being able to read when I want to. It's really just about prioritizing my reading. And that is the thing that I really learned about myself when I was doing this challenge the first time a couple years ago, which was that for someone who talks about loving to read so much, I don't always prioritize it, and sometimes I find it difficult to prioritize with other things that I enjoy. And this being something that I like post a lot about, it makes me feel guilty at times when I don't read. So taking this time to kind of refocus stuff, while not being hard on myself, like yesterday the timer ran out and I wasn't able to hit the entire 8.5 hours. I want to start a new book until tomorrow. these are not things that like I'm being punished by. Like there's no consequence for me not hitting the timer. It's just about making the time in my day to read, to spend time doing a hobby that I love so much that I've, you know, made multiple different social media channels around loving this one thing. It is so much of my personality that when I've met people, like, they know me as the reader. And a lot of people know that, like, reading and books are just part of my personality trait. So that is something that, like, I want to be able to dedicate time to. And also, yeah, this is good for me to clear a bunch of books off my TBR. I've been more productive in these 3 days with reading than I have so far, like, the rest of the year. I've read 5 books already in 3 days, and I read 4 books in the entirety of January. That's not to say that 4 books in January was not good, but again, this is just me, like, prioritizing things and focusing on getting through books that I say I really want to get through. And knocking down my TBR, because it's great to, like, not have my TBR be, like, almost 300 books. It is also a lot of fun to be pulling from my TBR jar because I am getting to pick up books that I might not always be inclined to pick up, or I might, like, hold off on or save, or just not gravitate towards too immediately. Like, I would not have picked up Wires and Nerves on my own. Typically, I have wanted to for a really long time because I've had the book for a long time, but it's not something that I, like, immediately think of when I think of what I want to read next. Hag's Nook was also not a book that I would normally think of in terms of wanting to read something. To be perfectly honest, Lore of the Wilds is also not a book that I would normally pick up because, again, romantasy is just not a genre that's for me, but I read it and now I get to, you know, talk about it a little more and what I do and don't like about the genre or the subgenre of fantasy. Reading experiments like this are just good for me to get some time to figure out my reading a little more, to figure out my taste a little more. Because a lot of what I own now has been an accumulation of what it was when I was a teenager versus now, like, I'm in my late 20s. My reading taste has changed a lot. I've explored a lot of new things, and over time I've gotten into other genres like lit fic. I've gotten back into historical fiction, but in a different capacity than I read previously. And so looking at the books I own now, a mix of what I own now versus what I used to own, having the TBR jar makes me more inclined to read a pretty good, like, diverse range of books that I have. Mysteries are the ones that I want to pick up that are a bit more my taste now, because I could have had really good taste when I was a teenager and picked up some really good books that I just put off because I'm no longer 16. Not being that age doesn't mean the books aren't good. Like, I know for a fact that when I eventually read the Daughter of Smoke and Bone trilogy by Laini Taylor, those are going to be books that I love because I've heard so many good things about Laini Taylor, and I know that writing is going to hold up. When I read Ninth House, that's an adult book that I've never read by Leigh Bardugo, but, like, I know I'm going to love it because I loved her young adult trilogy. I love Six of Crows. I know I'm going to love Ninth House. The Raven Cycle Quartet is another example of young adult books that I know I will love. They're going to hold up really, really well, but I just need to read them. And then there are other ones that I'm not sure about anymore, like the Study in Charlotte series, which is a Sherlock Holmes, like, sort of spin-off retelling featuring Sherlock's niece? Great niece? Something like that, someone who's related to him. I could still enjoy those books, or I could not because I've outgrown them. I don't know, but this TBR project and, like, doing this series, not only pulling from my TBR, but reading more throughout the week, is really allowing me to kind of look at the books that I've accumulated over the years, and also just me being a little more mindful of what I'm picking up. Anyways, that was a lot of rambling. I need to wrap up my TikTok for this, and then I'm gonna go get ready for bed because I want to get ready for bed. And then we're gonna start tomorrow morning early again. My alarm is set for 8. Things that I put off today that I do need to get done tomorrow, that does include editing, because I didn't end up editing today because I spent like an hour and a half filming TikToks instead. I do also need to run out and get a present for my boyfriend because Valentine's Day is coming up. So I do have some errands to run, but I should be able to knock out a couple more books tomorrow, and even if I don't meet the timer again, I'm just glad that I'm prioritizing reading again. Showing myself that it doesn't have to be like, oh, either I read or I get to do something else, or like, I don't ever have time to read. Like, I do have time to read. I'm kidding myself. So it is, like, it's 9:15. My cat woke me up at 6 this morning, or 5-ish. 6. I woke up and then my cat heard that I was awake and she was like, you have to pet me now. Proceeded to bother me for an entire hour and attempt to eat my necklaces. I'm gonna start the second volume of Wires and Nerves, but we're gonna go to the living room first because I need a change of scenery and I'm so tired today. It's a good thing I don't have anything going on, but I really need to edit those videos and I really don't know if I'm going to be able to hit the 8 hours of reading today. This is the second time this week where I've come into the living room and my dad's fish has jumped out of the tank. This happened a few nights ago when I got home from being out all day and the fish was just on the floor. And I walk out this morning and the fish is just on the floor. He's fine. Rocket's fine. Both times I've gotten him back into the tank and he's been like completely fine. But this is the second time that it's happened that I've had to put him in. This is the third fish I've had. No, the second fish I've done this with. First one did it once and Rocket's done it twice. I don't know what's up with this beta fish, but like, it's been doing this to me. So anyways, I'm gonna start Wires and Nerves. I'm gonna put the timer on the clock. Because I really have to edit today, I'm gonna cheat. We are splitting the timer between today and tomorrow. I'm gonna split the 8 hours between today and tomorrow because that's really feasibly the only way I can read and also get all the editing done that I need to get done. So yes, that, but first I have to edit a different video that needs to go up now because I need to post a TikTok for this morning because I'm on a like morning and evening posting schedule right now. So I need to post a new TikTok and I need to edit that. It's been quite some time. It's actually been like a little over 2 hours. It really should not be taking me this long to read the graphic novel because it's a graphic novel, but I admit I got distracted. I went on TikTok a couple times. I was like responding to some other things, messages from friends, telling my dad about his stupid fish that jumped out of the fish tank and like putting the cover over it because I don't want the fish to jump out again. It's twice in a week that I have to deal with this. But I am almost at the end of this already. This is how much I've read. This is how much I have left. I think I'm down to like the last chapter of this. And I'm loving it so much. This really makes me want to reread the Lunar Chronicles. Like, the humor is just so good. I'm remembering all these little moments between the characters and like their dynamics. And it's just such a... I don't really know how else to describe it. This series was so much fun for me. All these little moments, especially with Aiko and her sense of humor, it's reminding me of what I loved so much about reading back then that I think in some ways was simpler back when all I knew about the reading world was just BookTube and I didn't even know Bookstagram existed yet. And like, I didn't really have anyone to talk to except for my sister about these books because no one around me knew what these books were. And now I have all these communities that I'm part of. But it just, it brings me back to, I don't know, just when I think loving reading was different. It was simpler and it was purer in a way. Not to say that my love of reading isn't pure now, but like, back then I had a BookTube channel, but like I wasn't making content the way that I am now. Like, I love these things, and like there's this moment in one of the first couple of chapters, I think chapter 1 or chapter 2, where like all the wolf hybrid soldiers that Levana creates in the Lunar Chronicles, they go and they're like all gather around, and you know, because they're wolves, one of them howls, and so they all start howling. And all I could think of was the scene from Zootopia where Judy starts to howl when they're like trying to break into the facility, and she sneaks in behind the little guard station and she starts howling, and one of the other wolves is like, yes, howling, and he like howls, and then the other wolf goes, shh, you'll start to howl, and then like more howling in the background, and then it just all start howling. I love that scene, and this reminded me of that. Maybe a reference? I don't know. But then there's this other scene where like Winter, I forgot Winter's just slightly off her rocker all the time. She was the character that I had the hardest time enjoying. I remember by the time I got to that point in the series, it could have also just been because like I wasn't really in the mood for that book at that point, but like Winter was the character that I found hardest to connect with at that point, and this was like 10 years ago, right? But she's talking to Cinder and they're having this conversation about how Cinder's nervous about making a speech, and Winter's just like, oh, you know, I'm not nervous about speeches because if I ever forget anything, I can always just howl, and she just demonstrates it. And I was like, ah, yes, Winter. It took me to trends of like, oh, the person who has no social anxiety. That's Winter. Winter started that trend. No social anxiety, she just does whatever she wants to do, and everyone loves her for it. I'm gonna pause the timer now because I need to go and figure out lunch. I'm gonna go downstairs and see if I can find everything to make like a really weird old lunch that my dad used to make when I was a kid. Well, not a kid, I was like a teenager at this point, but it's like a cheap, weird lunch. And I hope I can find everything for it. I do also need to pick up milk from downstairs. But I'm going to pause the timer, and then once I'm done with lunch, I will come back up and read this, and then I'll figure out what I want to read next. I'll update you guys when I'm done eating, and then we can like figure that out. I have taken more time off reading than I realized. I got a little carried away watching my show. cat just left me after she tried to bite me too. So I'm going to continue reading. I also forgot to stop the timer while I was out getting stuff for lunch. So it says 5.5 hours right now. We're gonna go with it because I've already decided today's not gonna be a full 8.5 hour day anyways. So I'm just gonna go with it. I'm gonna read this and then I think I should edit. I don't know what I'm gonna pick next, but I think I should edit at least for a while before getting back to reading tonight. I'm done. Oh, that was a good stretch. I finished this and it was a 5-star. I just bonked myself from the glasses with this, but I really, really enjoyed the second volume. It is quite a bit longer than the first one. I think it's like 120 pages longer, but I really, really enjoyed it. I really love the way they wrapped up the story. I really like the way they dealt with the whole thing about androids and about the mutant soldiers. It's such a good conclusion to the series, and I think wrapping it up as a graphic novel is also a really good thing, because one of the things a lot of people say about the Lunar Chronicles is that it would make a really great animated show, and I still think it would make a fantastic animated show. Like, give it like a Disney budget, you could make a great animated show. Give it a Disney budget, you can make a great live action show, but I don't know if I trust anyone to make it a good live action show, to be perfectly honest, not even Disney. I just think this is such a good conclusion to the story. You have these wrapping out the entire series, and it's kind of like it's a nice 7-book thing. You know, you have 4 main books, you have the book of novellas, you have the 2 graphic novels. It wrapped up so beautifully. I'm so happy with this. I'm gonna go mark this as read, and now I should sit and edit. I really, really need to sit and edit, because this video, I know for this weekend that I need to edit, I know I have at least an hour of footage, if not like an hour or 20 minutes of footage, so I should go get on that. It might be kind of hard to see me, but this is the lowest my chair can go. I stopped reading after Wires and Nerves. I realized I just really needed to not be reading for a little bit, and I think that's the problem with doing this challenge. Like I mentioned last night, that I was kind of feeling like I was burning out from the reading, and that's not necessarily like a side effect of, excuse you, it's just what happens when you go all into a reading challenge like that and like make it so that you basically can't do anything but read, which, you know, there's pros and cons to it. Also, I realized I'm actually not going to be reading much tomorrow because I have plans to see a movie with my dad, and I also have to finish sorting out my boyfriend's Valentine's Day gift, and I'm meeting a friend for a pole practice, so like a lot of my reading is actually not going to happen tomorrow. I'm still going to try and squeeze it in whenever I can, but I'm not going to be able to actually hit the 8 hours. I'll be very surprised if I can get more than like 2 hours in. I'm also finally actually editing the video that needs to go for this weekend, because I've been putting it off, but at least it's a lot more straightforward than like I was making it out to be in my head. It's really, really simple, and I also don't have as much footage as I thought I did. I thought I had like an hour of footage. I only had like 38 minutes of footage, which I've already cut down to 33 minutes, which is great. Someone actually hit the bell in the elevator outside. You won't be able to hear this, but I know it's there. Do I feel bad about the fact that I am not really ending this challenge the way that I wanted to? Yes and no. This is exactly the same thing that happened last time, which was that I got to like day 4 and I completely burnt out of it, or day 5 and I completely burnt out of it, and I never continued the last like 2 days. I kind of knew that was going to happen, but I also didn't think that I was going to be having like daytime plans with my dad. But the thing is, my dad is working and I'm unemployed and at home right now. So I don't get to see him until he comes back from work. And he usually goes to bed pretty early, so like this isn't just something that we get to do together. We're gonna go see that bell is still going. I don't know if I should like check to see if something's wrong. I should probably go check on that. I'll be right back. Everything seems fine. I checked. I went outside. There's no fire. There's no smoke. Everything looks fine. No one's screaming for help and no one's panicking, so I think it's gonna be okay. 2 more days. Like, I could very easily tomorrow and then do Monday instead, because I have, like, my weekend is all booked. I could extend this into Monday. I will consider doing that, because I do want to, like, try and do another 8-hour day and just see how much more I can read, because I think I get another 2 books out of this. I've already read 4 books? 5 books? Let's take a look. Lost track of like how many pages I've read per day. I need to go and do the math for that. 6.5, because I finished Vengeful at the beginning of this. Well, not even 6.5, because I finished 100 pages out of like almost 600. We'll just say 6 books. I've done 6 books in 4 days, which I think is pretty impressive. I have slowed down as I've gone on, but 6 books is still a pretty decent amount considering that that's more than I read in January. I will leave more of my thoughts for like the wrap up of this, but I think I needed today to like not be reading all the time because I felt like I was just too overwhelmed with all the reading I had to do that I felt like I couldn't do anything else and I couldn't want to do anything else, which is also not the point of this. So it's actually been over a week since I finished my reading challenge, and you know what? I decided I'm not done because I do feel like I want to finish it one last day. So instead of doing an 8.5-hour timer, we're doing a 5.5-hour timer because that's kind of what I left off on last time. I think it was 5 hours and 37 minutes. So you know what? Well, fine. We'll make it 5 hours and 37 minutes. 5 hours and 37 minutes. That's going to be the amount of time I'm reading for to finish this out, and I actually need to get this edited for this weekend. But I gotta pick a new book, so I have my tripod over there for my phone, and you're gonna get to watch me film picking up my next read for Project TBR, because I read a couple library books and I should probably get onto a TBR book. Hopefully it's nothing massive, because if it was something like The Poppy War... So yeah, I'm gonna move the camera over so you can see me film, and then we'll get on with this, I guess. Welcome back to Project TBR, where I'm trying to get through the 280 plus books that I have on my TBR. This year, and I need to pick a new one, so we are going to reach into the jar and grab something, I guess. Oh, I should take my sequels out of here. This too. We're going with this one. I just dropped something. Okay. As usual, I will let you guys see it first. I think this looks like a physical book. What does that say? The Illuminate Files, number 1. Okay. That I was hoping it's not going to be a big book. But the Illuminate Files is mixed media. So, I'm gonna go grab it. I'll be right back. The Illuminate Files. This book is huge. This is, I think, 500 pages. I'm finishing on my blog where I'm trying to replace my screen time with reading. So, I guess this is a good book to do that with because this is probably going to take me the entire timer of 5.5 hours. I don't remember what this book is about. I know it's a sci-fi series. I know that it's mixed media. I know that 2 people wrote it. I've never read anything by Amy Kaufman. And I don't like Jake Kristoff because he's written some problematic things, specifically about women, specifically about Asian women. Guess what I am? About this, and I am excited to try it. This is what I'm reading. This chunk of a book is what I'm reading. Okay, well, there's that. So, oh, also, I have a mini tripod now, which is what I'm holding you guys on, so I'm not actually holding the camera anymore. I'm gonna read this. I should go outside and set the timer. And I've also set on the format for Project TBR. And you'll be seeing this before like I get too many videos into Instagram or TikTok really. People voted on vlog style, so I'm checking in like every 100 or so pages, which means that they're gonna be longer videos, but that's what people want, so I'm gonna give it to them. Just gotta go set my timer, and I wanna make a drink. I'm also on my period. Hours left on my timer, and my period is really taking me out right now. I'm so tired, but I'm 100 pages into the book. I need to eat. I went from never having cramps, never feeling tired, like never having any of those things. The only thing I would get was like, I would get 2 pimples here and 1 pimple here before my period, and that was like how I knew my period was coming. I don't get those signs anymore. No, what I get now is like cramps and fatigue and bloating and pain and like being hot and cold at the same time. So that's my reading update. So I've moved to my room to read. You can see my phone right here. But I've moved into my room to read because if I fall asleep here, by the time I'm in my bed, because oh my gosh, my period is really kicking it out of me. I have, as I mentioned previously, about 4 hours left on the clock. That's my timer currently, and I'm gonna see how much more I can read before I inevitably doze off because my body just really wants to sleep. Full transparency. That was supposed to be a half-hour nap, and I woke up an hour and a half later. I had to force myself awake because, like, you know when you're, like, not awake, but you're not asleep either? Like, you're kind of in and out of both, but it's really hard to fall asleep fully, but you, like, can't push yourself awake. That's, like, the weird state I was in for about an hour. So I have 3.5 hours left on the timer. I only read for, like, 25 minutes before I fell asleep. The nap was good, and I was on my phone for a while after because it took me so long to wake up, and then I had a headache. I still kind of have a headache because it's my period, and I usually have a headache my first couple days. I made it 40 pages before I needed to take that nap, so we're gonna restart the timer. Well, we're not gonna restart the timer. We're gonna start the timer again, and then we'll see how much more it says I can read. Okay, I hope everything's in focus. Surprise, surprise! Guess who didn't adhere to the timer again? I have 3 hours left on the timer. Yeah, and it is 11:30. I'm not going to be reading anymore, but I have gotten to page 200 of this, which I think is pretty good. I think my period just really took me out today, and when I was planning this, did not realize I was going to be getting my period, and so I did not think it was going to be this bad because I'm still not used to the fact that my symptoms are actually symptoms now. Okay, her. Hi. So yeah, this kind of ended up being a fail, but I've read so much because of this challenge. I have read, I think, 5 or 6 books out of this challenge, and this is actually my 10th book of the month. Believe it or not, 10 books in a month is really unusual for me. I've DNF'd 1 book, but this is my 10th or 11th, I believe. I need to actually do the math when I like go through my spreadsheet. That's it for tonight. I will wrap it up tomorrow. This is probably going to be a much longer video than I planned it to be, but who doesn't like a good long reading vlog? It's time to wrap up this very long video that should have only taken me 1 week to film. 1 week to film, and it took me 2 weeks to film. While I didn't end up finishing out the 8.5 hours for like every single day of the week, I did make an attempt. Like those last 2 days were really poor attempts, but I did make an attempt. When I tried to do like the 5.5 hours yesterday, I really only read for 2.5 hours. The last 3 hours were just, it did not happen. I think the timer is also still just on my iPad. Like, you can see that the 3 hours is still here. I need to actually cancel that out because I don't need that timer anymore. But I have all of my stats for each day that I read. So I'm going to run through like how much I read each day first and what books I read. So at the start of the challenge on Monday, I read 103 pages of Vengeful, which allowed me to finish it. I read all of Lore of the Wilds, and then I read 35 pages of Her Last Breath, which put me at 453 pages for the day. On Tuesday, I read 323 pages of Her Last Breath, which meant that I finished the book, and I read 338 pages of Local Women Missing, which put me at 711 pages. On Wednesday, I finished Local Women Missing. That should actually be part of this. I don't remember how many pages that was, but I finished it. I need to do the math on that. I read all of Hag's Nook, and then I read all of Wires and Nerves Volume 1, which put me at about 463 pages. Per this calculation, although now that I'm realizing I did not put me finishing like the last half hour of the audiobook of Local Woman Missing, I think that puts me closer to like 490 pages, give or take. On Thursday, I read all of Wires and Nerves Volume 2, which is 336 pages, and that was the only reading I got done that day. And then I didn't read it all on the Friday of that week because I had a lot of other things going on. I went to a movie with my dad, I went to pole practice with my friend. It was Valentine's Day, which I didn't celebrate with my boyfriend because we celebrated the day after. I was trying to find a day to like make up the last day of the challenge, and I didn't end up doing it in the following week. So now that it was the following week, yesterday when I attempted to finish up this challenge, I read 199 pages of Illuminae, which put me at 199 pages for the day. So my total number of pages read for the entire challenge was 2,162, which is pretty impressive because that amounts to about 432.4 pages a day. That's how many pages I can read if I basically made reading my full-time job and read for 8.5 hours every single day. What did I learn from this challenge? Mostly that if I actually put my mind to it, I can make a lot of time for reading, and it's not that I don't have time for reading. This is very similar to what I learned the first time I did this challenge, which is just that I'm on my phone way too much. Prioritizing reading is really good for me because it helps me fall asleep a lot faster. It's really good for my mind. I'm not on my phone as much unless I'm like filming or editing. And it helps me get through a lot of the books that I want to read. Like so far in February, I'm on my 10th or 11th book of the month already. And that is double what I read in January. I am 4 or 5 books ahead of my reading goal, which is really, really good, and it's a great feeling, and I'm enjoying a lot of the books that I'm reading. I am mixing up stuff between my TBR and books that I borrowed from the library, but the fact that I'm making time to read and the fact that I'm drawing from my TBR drawer throughout all of this as well means that I'm actually getting to books that are on my shelves, but I'm also able to get to books that I'm borrowing from the library just because they sound interesting, and they're books that I've actually really enjoyed so far. Like, one of my library books was a 4.5 stars and the other one was a 4 stars, and my reading so far this month has been pretty good. So what is my conclusion is that from the fact that I need to put my phone down more. Part of it is that reading more consistently makes me want to read more consistently, which sounds so dumb to say. Just the act of making reading more part of my routine means that I'm more likely to pick up a book, and when I'm really into reading, I want to continue reading other books, whether that be my library books, whether that be books I already own, listening to audiobooks. I'm more likely to look for ways to include reading throughout my day. Like, I'm thinking about filming a video where I do a workout and listen to an audiobook and see how much of an audiobook I can listen to throughout my workout. That is a great way to incorporate reading into other things that I'm doing, or like when I clean my room, I can listen to an audiobook. It doesn't just have to be like me putting on a TV show. Of course, I can also do that. I can watch as much TV as I want to. I finished quite a lot of TV this month, and I still read 10 or 11 books. So this really shows me that I can make time for a lot of different hobbies and a lot of things that I enjoy, and I can still read a lot. It doesn't always have to be screen time, which I think is really important because screen time, obviously, we all know the effects of screen time, and doing the challenge is just a really good reminder that I can function really well without my phone, without being on my phone all the time. Sometimes I do feel the urge to have screen time, and that's completely fine, but not like in excessive amount, which is also difficult because like I am a content creator. I edit on my screen. I'm filming and I'm looking at myself in a screen right now. But you know what I mean? Like, I'm not just on my phone the entire day, which is bad for me. One of the things I said last time when I did this challenge was that I would want to do this more often, and I think I would actually enjoy doing days where I just like read for the entire day, or I read for 8 hours, read for 10 hours, doing more like 12-hour readathons, 24-hour readathons. I think I would really enjoy doing something like that a little more consistently because it just encourages me to put my phone aside and to read more and to just spend the time like doing something fun, something that I enjoy, and seeing just how many books I can read in this duration. Like, I don't think I would have read this much if not for this challenge, and I'm really glad that I did make the time to read this much because, let's see, how many books did I finish throughout this time? We're gonna count books I finished, not books I started. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I finished 7 books in 5 days, which is pretty impressive. Granted, I started Vengeful already and I was only in like the last 100 pages, and the other one is Illuminate that I've started and not finished, but like 7 books and that many pages, it would have been like 1,800-ish pages. That's a lot. That's pretty good. It's way more than I usually read if I'm not actively making time for it. And I think that's the big part of this. Me making the effort to make time for reading rather than just always being on my phone or always doing something else and then saying I don't have time to read when I know full well I do. I'm just not making it a priority, and that is like, for someone who says reading is such a big part of her life, who makes content around it on so many different platforms, it's the fact that I'm not making reading a priority when I want to, and then complaining that I'm not making reading a priority, or like acting like I don't have the time or capacity to do that when I'm currently unemployed, is kind of ridiculous. All this just goes to show that when I put my mind to it, I can read for a really long time, and I can prioritize reading, and I can really enjoy it and make it part of my regular routine, and it doesn't have to be a thing where I'm like, oh, I didn't get to read today because I didn't have time. No, you were just watching Netflix for most of the day. If you've never done something like this, I highly encourage it. I would say start off probably with like 1 day. When I did this challenge last time, I did like all my screen times for each day of the like previous week, and there was 1 day where I had like 12 or 13 hours of screen time. It's safe to say I did not hit my reading goal for that day, but like it also just shows me how much time I spend on my phone, and it's a really like, it's a big wake-up call, I guess. I've seen a lot of people do this like over the years, most of it on TikTok. I would actually love to see more of these long form experiments to see how people are replacing their screen time with reading. Maybe that's also my excuse for making this a really long video, like why is this a 10-minute outro? Anyways, I will probably be doing challenges like this a little more often, at least reading challenges where I'm like really focusing on reading, and my battery's about to die. So thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know what your screen time is and if you would ever replace your screen time with reading. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!